So right now there is serious tension and surprise coming out from the court as Nnamdi Kanu's ongoing case took another unexpected turn that nobody saw coming. The whole courtroom was silent for a moment when Kanu suddenly moved three strong legal motions that reportedly caught the chief judge completely off guard. My people, this case is turning into one of the most unpredictable trials Nigeria has ever seen. And while all this was happening, there were more twists, lawyers withdrawing, new legal talks about contempt of court, and now even the Nigerian Bar Association and top senior advocates are in the middle of it. It's a full drama, and if you're just joining this gist, please make sure you like this video right now and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next update because this story is still growing. Now, let's break it down. You see, what happened inside that courtroom shocked even those who have been following this case from day one. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed IPOB group, stood before the Federal High Court once again. But this time, instead of his normal team of lawyers leading his defense, the man made a move that left everyone speechless. He decided to handle some parts of his defense himself. Yes, you heard that right. He wanted to speak directly to the court, and the way he presented his motions left even the chief judge pausing for a few seconds before responding. It wasn't business as usual. Now, for those who don't really follow legal terms, a motion in court is basically a request. You're telling the judge, I want this to happen, or this must be considered before we continue. But the three motions Kanu brought up were not small ones. They were heavy ones, touching issues of jurisdiction, fair trial, and even previous court orders that he claimed have not been respected. Imagine the confidence of standing up to tell the court that earlier rulings were ignored and that your case should not even be proceeding under those conditions. That was what shocked many people in the courtroom. The judge, according to reports from people who were present, had to look through documents, ask questions, and even take a short pause before making the next move. This kind of moment shows how unpredictable the case has become. One minute you think you know where it's going, and the next minute something else happens. And right there, when you think the tension was going to reduce, another bombshell dropped. Some of Kanu's senior lawyers were reportedly sacked or withdrew from the case. Now, that's another layer to the story. Some of these senior advocates have been part of this legal team for years. They've stood by him through arrests, appeals, and adjournments. So, for them to suddenly step aside shows that something deep is happening behind the scenes. Some said it was due to internal disagreements on how to proceed. Others said Kanu wanted full control of his defense. But one thing was clear. The courtroom atmosphere changed completely after that moment. You could literally feel the tension in the air. And before I continue, please, if you're still watching, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It really helps to keep this channel growing so we can keep giving you the real updates as they drop. So, after the lawyers withdrew, the judge had to make sure Kanu understood what was happening. In any serious case like this, a judge must confirm that the defendant knows what it means to continue without a full legal team. It's not a small thing because representing yourself in a case of this size is not easy at all. It requires legal understanding, patience, and discipline. So, the court decided to adjourn briefly to allow him to get ready and for all sides to clear up the confusion. That was when the chief judge was said to have been caught off guard. Not because he didn't know the law, but because of how fast and unexpected everything happened. Outside the court, the story was also heating up. Supporters of Kanu had gathered around, waiting anxiously for updates. When they heard about the new motions and the changes in the legal team, it caused mixed reactions. Some were happy, saying it shows that Kanu still has the courage to stand on his own, while others were worried that the defense could become weaker without experienced lawyers. And before long, there were reports of small protests around some areas, people shouting for justice, asking for fair hearing, and saying, enough is enough. Police presence was tight, trying to make sure things didn't get out of control. And now, the Nigerian Bar Association is reportedly keeping an eye on how everything is unfolding. You know, When issues of contempt of court come up, the NBA usually steps in to remind everyone that court orders must be respected, whether by individuals, security agencies, or government officials. This is not just about Kanu anymore. It's about the rule of law and how our justice system is respected in this country. Please, guys, pause for a second, hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't. Let's keep the community growing so we can keep giving you more updates like this. Back to the gist. The talk about contempt of court started after it was claimed that some previous rulings in Kanu's favor had not been fully obeyed. Remember that last year, there were court orders concerning his detention and trial conditions, and his team has always argued that those orders were ignored. That's where this new argument of contempt comes in. The NBA doesn't joke with that because when any court order is ignored, it weakens the entire justice system. So now, the pressure is not only on the court to handle the motions carefully, but also on the authorities to make sure they are not seen as disobeying the law. Meanwhile, let's not forget that this case has been dragging for years now, moving from one judge to another, one ruling to another, and several appeals. And this latest twist makes it even more complicated. People are beginning to ask, where exactly is this case heading? Is it going to end soon? Or are we just going to keep seeing new surprises every few months? Because right now, every time the court sits, something dramatic happens. As we talk, this issue is no longer just about Kanu and IPOB. It has become a test of how strong the Nigerian legal system is. When people see that court orders are not followed or that cases keep bouncing from one point to another, it affects trust in the system. And trust me, that's something that concerns everyone, not just one group or one region. And let's not forget the security angle. Each time there's a new court session, there's always heavy security presence. That shows you how sensitive this case is. Authorities are trying to make sure there's no breakdown of order, but it also adds to the tension because people outside see the large number of security agents and wonder what could happen next. If you're following the gist up to this point, please don't forget to like and subscribe again. It really helps the channel grow. We're giving you real updates. In simple words, no confusion, no bias, just straight facts as they unfold. Now, looking deeper into what this might mean for Kanu personally, representing himself could either strengthen his confidence in the case or make things more difficult. Because while he may feel that no one can tell his story better than himself, the truth is courtroom battles are built on technical laws, cross-examinations, and detailed evidence. So, while his courage is admirable, experts believe he will still need professional support if this case is to end favorably. And then there's the issue of what happens next. The court will definitely need to rule on these three motions he brought up. Those motions are key because they can determine whether the case moves forward or not. If the court agrees with his motions, it could change everything. But if not, the trial continues and the government will push hard for conviction. Either way, it's going to shape the political and legal landscape for a long time. And speaking of politics, you know this case carries deep meaning beyond the courtroom. For many people in the Southeast, Kanu represents a voice they feel is speaking for them. For the government, it's about maintaining unity and order. So each side sees this case differently. That's why any small development makes big headlines. It's more than a legal story, it's a national conversation. My friends, please once again, if you're still with me, kindly like this video and subscribe right now. That small action helps the video reach more people and keeps us going strong. Now, the chief judge, after being caught in that moment of surprise, handled the situation professionally. Reports say he calmly adjourned proceedings to allow proper documentation and to avoid any mistakes. And that shows maturity and respect for due process. Because at this stage, any small mistake can create a new controversy. As the day ended, supporters outside were chanting, some were singing, some were crying, and journalists were running around trying to get reactions. Everybody wanted to understand what just happened. It's like a movie, but it's real life. A man in the middle of a long-running trial, standing alone, facing the court, challenging the system, and still commanding large support from people who believe in his cause. And just when people thought that was all, the talk about contempt started trending again. People began reminding the government and institutions that court orders must be obeyed. The NBA? Some senior advocates and civil society organizations all started calling for caution, saying that Nigeria's democracy stands on the respect for the rule of law. The question now is, where does the case go from here? Will the chief judge step down or continue? Will Kanu be allowed to represent himself fully? Will new lawyers join? Or will this be another round of adjournments? These are the questions Nigerians are asking right now. And we're all waiting for the next court date to see what happens next.